This is so exciting for me because I have been trying to branch out my content a little bit more for you guys. And I feel like this is a fun way to do it because you can ask me like literally anything. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jess, but you may know me better as Female Peter Parker on most socials, where I make cosplay and comedy sketches. On Friday, I asked you all for some Q&A questions on Instagram and YouTube, so today we're going to answer them. I've got the Q&A right here. Here we go. What is your favorite movie of all time? I am a huge Back to the Future fan. Something about the Back to the Future movies just like gets me every time. I actually wonder if that's why I'm such a big Spider-Man fan, because I do vaguely remember Tom Holland saying something about like basing his Peter Parker off of Marty McFly. Everything about that movie is so fun. Like it has like the nostalgia factor. It's just like a fun plot. Like we're going back in time, but I see my parents. Back to the Future, man. If you've never seen Back to the Future, this is your sign. Please go watch Back to the Future. It's so good. What kind of Spider-Man movie would I like to see next? I feel like what I really want out of the MCU Spider-Man movies is a little bit more of like the vibes that we get in the Insomniac Spider-Man. I've seen some people talking on Twitter about this and I kind of agree with them. Like I want like a more experienced Peter Parker, and I also really want a Kingpin versus Spider-Man in the MCU. Like it would be so good. But on the contrary to what like some other people are talking about, I really do want him to still keep connections with some of the other MCU characters. I really wish no one forgot who he was. I was so sad about that. I'm sure we'll still have more of that in the future. But yeah, my top would be like a Kingpin Spider-Man movie, maybe with like a Daredevil or Kate cameo. That would be cool. Pasta or cake? If you know me in real life, you know that I am a cake girl, hands down. It is like a very common thing for me to be like, I'm in the mood for supermarket cake, and I will just go and buy a birthday cake. I'm a cake girly. As much as I do love pasta, I also eat a lot of pasta, but I'm a cake girl first and foremost. Name one Marvel actor I haven't met and really want to meet. Okay, I'm gonna list a few because there's a couple. Obviously Tom Holland, because he plays my favorite version of Spider-Man. I think honestly I would be like a little stressed if it were to happen, but it would be amazing. I love him. I also would love to meet Haley Steinfeld. I like remembered the other day I have seen her technically in person because she opened for Meghan Trainor one year and I went to Meghan Trainor's concert and like watched her perform. I also have heard wonderful things about Paul Rudd, and I feel like Paul Rudd is one of those people that like we would be besties immediately. And also Robert Downey Jr., but I feel like I would be really nervous and very scared. What Taylor Swift era are you in currently? I think right now I would say I'm in my Reputation era. I'm trying to make a lot of like changes in my life. I think a lot of it too is I also just really want Reputation Taylor's version to come out, so I'm like, I guess I'm in my rep era now. No, but for real, like there's a lot happening to me this year specifically that I think has me in this space of Reputation. Yeah, there's just a lot to look forward to and just like becoming the better version of myself. So I'm gonna go with Reputation. What are some of your other interests? I am a huge Tangled fan. I don't really talk about it much, but I really love Tangled. On the same line as Tangled, I am a very big Disney fan. I love Disney. I actually have been in like quite a bit of a Disney hyperfixation currently. I think I'm gonna like rewatch some of the older movies and stuff because I just love them so much. Obviously Back to the Future, like I said earlier. Honestly, most pop culture I'm into. I like a lot of pop culture stuff, except for horror. I am not a horror girly. I don't like being scared. Actually, I take it back. I enjoy the thrill of jump scares. I do not like blood and gore. So like gory horror, I don't think I'd be able to do, but if someone were to like sit with me and watch like a jump scare horror movie, I'd probably be able to handle that. But I don't really do it much because I don't like being scared. But yeah, so most pop culture is like up there on the list for me, I think. Any advice for posting cosplays? I want to, but I'm nervous. When I first started cosplaying, I also was a little nervous. I think the best tip I have to start cosplaying is to start with like closet cosplays, because those are easy ones and you can use like anything that you already own. You're not necessarily like spending money on anything. But in terms of like posting cosplays, the best advice I can give you is just start. I know that's like so cheesy, but I really do mean that. It gets so much easier once you take that leap of faith, because I used to be really nervous about posting Marvel content too. I think sometimes as human beings we get so stuck in our heads about like, what will people think of this thing that I do? But in reality, what we really should be focusing on is, does this make me happy? And if it does, I should do it. And just post and have fun. Like the biggest part of cosplay is just dressing as the characters that you like, and having a good time. But good luck, I believe in you. You got this. When did you start making skits, and how much do all of your costumes cost? I started making skits in August of 2020, so we were still like pretty in the height of the pandemic at that point. I was at home and I was just so bored, and I started seeing some Marvel TikToks, and I really wanted to try, you know, posting some videos of my own. And so I started the Avengers at Disney series, and yeah, I've been doing it ever since. In terms of like how much my cosplay costs, it kind of varies depending on the costume. Borderline, they're usually between like $100 to $300. Like my Tom Holland Spider-Man suit, I think cost me about a little over 100, maybe like 160. The most expensive one I have is my Ant-Man suit, and because it's like all leather, it costs so much money. And then also, like, as you get more involved with like props and stuff, it raises the price. Like for Ant-Man, I think baseline the suit was like $280, but then I also added the helmet as well. But I do have some cheaper cosplays too. Like I have some Amazon cosplays. I don't know if I want to like sit down and calculate how much I actually spent on cosplay. I feel like that would be so much money. It's been a lot. Favorite Taylor Swift song? I really like Timeless. That's the first one that comes to mind for me. It kind of changes every time she comes out with new music, honestly. I also really identify with You're on Your Own, Kid, and that was a song that I listened to like every day when Midnights came out. So that one definitely has kind of a special connection to me. Also, speaking of, I'm so excited for the Tortured Poets department that we're so close. It's like 2 months away. That's nuts. If you could chat with any Marvel actor or actress, who would you want to talk to? I feel like this question is different than who I would want to meet, because like it would be cool to meet any of them. But if I could like sit down and have a conversation with any of them, I think my answer would probably be Elizabeth Olsen. She just seems like so sweet and down to earth. I feel like she would have like so many nice things to say too, and like really good advice. I feel like she's a good advice giver. Anytime I see anything about Elizabeth Olsen, she just seems like such a sweet person. If you could meet any Disney character, who would you choose and why? I feel like after my whole talk about Rapunzel, you guys know, it would definitely be Rapunzel. I feel like we would be besties. I feel like she would just be like such a light to be around. She's like so positive after everything that happened to her. Plus she's very creative, and I feel like she always comes up with like super fun things to do. We would have so much fun. If you could punch any fictional character without consequences, who would you punch and why? I don't know why, but my first answer that came to my head was President Snow from the Hunger Games. Specifically him in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. He bothered me so much. Why was he like that? I still have to watch the movie. I'm like waiting for it to be on streaming so I can see it, because I wanted to read the book first, and then I didn't read the book in time. But I have read the book. I would punch Snow. I don't like him. He's annoying. The best thing that happened to you because of your TikTok and YouTube? There has been so many cool things that have happened. I think the thing I would rank as the best though is just meeting some more friends. I definitely hyperfixate on fandom stuff, and I like need to talk about it a lot. And so when I started posting, I finally found kind of my community of people who also enjoy the things at the level that I enjoy them at. And there's a couple content creator friends that I am really close with now that life would be just like so different without them, you know? And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I got to meet them. Favorite character or quest that I've done in Disney Dreamlight Valley? You guys know this is my favorite video game. Back on my Tangled rant, but I do really enjoy hanging out with Rapunzel. She's so fun. I feel, honestly though, she's my favorite character to hang out with, but I feel like her quests so far have kind of been like, okay. She's also a part of the DLC, so if we're talking like main game, honestly, Ursula's quests were so fun every time. We're like besties in the game too. We hang out all the time. If I were to be trapped in an elevator with 3 characters, who would it be and why? Okay, I feel like we need like a chaotic good and like a lawful good here. I need someone who's gonna like calm me down, because I would absolutely panic. Okay, honestly, I feel like being stuck in an elevator with Scott Lang would be so much fun, because he would be like, it's okay. Like he'd help calm my nerves, but also in a humorous way, because he'd be trying to make light of the situation, and he'd be like, man, doesn't this suck? Like, isn't this the worst thing that's ever happened to you? This is crazy. So Scott Lang would be my number one, I think. I don't want to do all Marvel characters, so I'm also gonna throw in some other characters too. Baymax would be a good option. I feel like he's equipped with like any situational needs that we might need. I'd be like, I'm hungry, and he'd be like, here's a lollipop. So Scott Lang and Baymax. And then I'll throw in Spider-Man in there too. I feel like Peter would also be like pretty helpful in terms of like, it's okay, we're gonna figure this out. But he's also sticky and can climb a wall, so he would just like pull us all out. And I feel like that mix of characters too would just be so chaotic. I said I wasn't gonna do all Marvel characters, and then I technically did, so it's fine. If you had unlimited money and materials, who would you cosplay? I would probably do an Iron Man cosplay. I would love to build a suit like some of my cosplay friends have done. That is like a dream bucket list cosplay though. That is like so far off from my abilities right now. Give me money and time and materials and I would try. I would absolutely try. Where do you find inspiration when you're in a slump? If I start to feel creativity block, I really take that as a sign to step back from my work for a little bit. I think especially in society right now, there's so much pressure to like constantly be pumping content out on like a day-to-day basis. And I think a lot of what we lose touch in is the fact that making stuff takes time. Also, if you're just like constantly throwing things out there, it's a lot of creativity that you're using in your brain, right? So we also need to be focused on fueling ourselves and intaking content as much as we output content. I'll really like step back and be like, okay, when's the last time that I have taken in something creative rather than being an output of creative? And usually what I do is I'll like rewatch some of my comfort films, or I'll even watch some new stuff too. Like I feel like watching newer things can really help me get into a new creativity mindset as well. I also make sure I have some creative outlets that I don't share with other people. Like a big one for me is I love to paint. If I'm really feeling in a creative slump, like I will do a little paint by number, or I'll get a canvas and I'll just like paint whatever I feel like, you know? I guess that was my long-winded way of saying that it's good to have multiple creative outlets and some that you don't share with others that are just for you, and that makes it special. What is your favorite thing about content creating? I think for me, the community aspect has been really awesome. I love reading the comments. I'm always reading the comments, and just being able to connect with other people who love what I love as much as I love it. That's definitely, I think, one of my favorite things. Okay, I'm switching over to YouTube comments now. Have you finished playing the Spider-Man 2 game? I have. I finished it in like the week it came out. I just like binge played the whole thing because I was so excited. I really enjoyed it a lot. The graphics were amazing. I thought the story was so fun. I'll definitely have to do a replay soon. I love it. What is your favorite Spider-Man suit? It can be from the movies, video game, and the comics. Honestly, I really like the suit from Homecoming. It's like a different twist on the suit that makes it kind of MCU specific, but it still has all of the like nostalgia factor of the other suits. I also really love the integrated suit from No Way Home. I don't know, something about that is just so cool to me. If you could change one thing in the Marvel universe, what would you change? It would definitely be that Peter does not make everybody forget who he is. What? Who said that? Couldn't be me. Or at least let MJ remember him. He's so alone. Favorite non-Disney princess movie? Are you talking like Disney movie or like princess movie that's not Disney? My favorite princess movie that isn't a Disney princess is probably Anastasia. But if we're talking favorite Disney movie that's not a Disney princess movie, I think Lady and the Tramp, honestly. The vibes of that movie are so good. I also, growing up, was a very big fan of Monsters, Inc. I used to see myself as Boo. What gives you motivation to make videos? I take a lot of inspiration, obviously, from my other content creator friends. Any movies or books or video games that I've played recently definitely also play into that too. And also, I base it off of my own life as well. Like anything that's been happening recently in my life, I try to reflect inside of skits too. So yeah, I really take inspiration from a lot of different things, and I try to take it day by day as well. Like I'll wake up and be like, what do I feel like making today? What inspired me to start cosplaying? I think honestly, I'd always seen cosplayers, always had this like yearning to be like, man, I really want to dress like that. That looks so cool. I wish that I was able to dress like Spider-Man or like a Disney princess. And I think over the pandemic, when I started posting videos, was really just an opportunity for me to kind of step in and dip my toe into that water a little bit. It's also very healing for my inner child, I think. Like being able to dress up as a character that you love and look up to and pretend to be them for the day is like the coolest thing ever. Thank you guys so much for watching my Q&A today. This was really fun. We should do this again, honestly. If you're looking for more videos like this one, be sure to like and subscribe below, and I will see you all next time. Bye!